The old concert hall stood proudly in the heart of the city, its stone walls weathered by decades of rain and sun. From the outside, it looked almost like a castle with its tall windows and detailed carvings around the entrance. Inside, velvet curtains hung from high ceilings, and rows of red seats faced the stage where a glossy black grand piano waited under soft lights. For most people, this building was a place they visited on special occasions, dressed in their finest clothes to hear beautiful music before returning to their normal lives. But for Anna, this hall had been her workplace for the past 8 years. Every evening, long after the last notes had faded and the well-dressed audience members had disappeared into the night, Anna would arrive with her cleaning cart. The wheels made a familiar squeaking sound against the polished floor as she pushed it down the empty hallways. While others saw grandeur when they entered this space, Anna saw fingerprints on glass doors, dust gathering on windowsills, and trash bins that needed emptying. Anna was in her 50s, with dark hair streaked with silver that she always kept tied back in a simple bun. Her hands were rough from years of work, not just cleaning this hall but from all the jobs she'd held since coming to this country nearly a decade ago. She wore the same uniform each night, dark blue pants and a matching shirt with the cleaning company's small logo stitched on the pocket. Around her neck hung a plastic ID card with her photo and the word staff printed in bold letters. Tonight was like any other. Anna arrived at exactly 9:30 p.m., nodded to the security guard at the staff entrance, and made her way to the supply closet where she kept her cart. The building was quiet except for the distant sound of someone practicing piano, probably one of the musicians staying late to prepare for tomorrow's concert. Anna started with the lobby as she always did, wiping down the glass display cases showing photos of famous musicians who had performed here over the years. She emptied trash bins and carefully dusted the framed posters announcing upcoming performances. Her movements were efficient after years of following the same routine, but she never rushed. Anna took pride in her work, even if it went mostly unnoticed. As she worked, her mind wandered to her grandson's birthday coming up next weekend. She was saving to buy him a small keyboard. Nothing fancy, but enough for a 7-year-old to start learning. Her daughter had mentioned how the boy kept tapping his fingers on the table as if playing invisible keys. It made Anna smile to think about it. The sound of the piano grew louder as Anna finished with the lobby and moved toward the main hall. Usually the practicing musicians would be gone by now, but someone was still playing. The melody floated through the air, something complex that rose and fell like waves. Even with her limited knowledge of classical music, Anna could tell it was being played by someone with real skill. She hesitated at the doors to the main hall, not wanting to interrupt. Anna had learned over the years to make herself invisible, to clean around people without disturbing them. She decided to start with the women's restroom instead and come back later when the musician had finished. But as she turned to walk away, the music stopped abruptly, followed by the sound of someone hitting several keys at once in frustration. Then silence. Anna waited a moment before pushing her cart toward the main hall again. When she quietly opened one of the large doors, she saw a man sitting at the grand piano on stage. He was hunched over the keys, running his hands through his hair. She recognized him as one of the regular pianists who performed with the orchestra, though she didn't know his name. Anna tried to enter silently, keeping close to the wall so she could start cleaning the back of the hall without being noticed. But her cart betrayed her with a squeak of its wheels, causing the man at the piano to look up. "I'm sorry," Anna said quickly. "I can come back later if you're still practicing." The pianist straightened his back and shook his head. "No need. I think I'm done torturing this piece for tonight." His voice echoed slightly in the empty hall. Anna nodded and began her work, taking trash from the bins at the end of each row. From the corner of her eye, she could see that the man hadn't moved from the piano bench. He was just sitting there staring at the sheet music in front of him. "This passage is impossible," he said suddenly, speaking loud enough for his voice to reach her, even though he wasn't looking in her direction. "I've been playing piano for 25 years, and these 4 measures are making me feel like a complete beginner." Anna wasn't sure if he was talking to her or just thinking out loud, so she simply continued working, moving to the next row of seats. "Have you ever had that feeling?" the man asked, now turning to look at her. "When something you usually do well suddenly feels impossible?" Surprised at being directly addressed, Anna paused. Most people barely noticed her presence, let alone started conversations. "Yes," she answered after a moment. When I first came to this country and had to learn the language, words I thought I knew would suddenly sound strange when I tried to say them. The pianist nodded as if this made perfect sense. Exactly. It's like my fingers know what to do until I think about it too much. He looked at her more carefully now. I'm Thomas, by the way. I don't think we've ever actually spoken, have we? Anna, she replied simply. No, we haven't. Thomas stood up from the piano bench and stretched. I've seen you cleaning here for years. You're always here when I stay late to practice. Anna smiled politely, a bit uncomfortable with the attention. It's my job. How long have you worked here? 8 years, she answered, continuing to move along the row, picking up programs left behind on seats. Thomas whistled. Longer than most of the musicians. You've probably heard more performances than anyone else in this building. Anna hadn't thought about it that way before. It was true that she'd heard countless rehearsals and performances while she cleaned, the music becoming the soundtrack to her evening work. I like the music, she said. It makes the job more pleasant. Thomas walked down the steps from the stage and into the seating area. He was tall and thin, with glasses that kept sliding down his nose. His clothes were rumpled as if he'd been wearing them all day. Do you play any instruments? He asked, leaning against one of the seats. Anna shook her head. No. The answer was both true and not true, but she didn't feel like explaining. Do you have a favorite composer at least? After hearing so much music, you must have opinions. Anna hesitated. She rarely shared personal thoughts with people she met through work. But something about the late hour and the empty concert hall made the conversation feel less formal than it might have during the day. I like Chopin, she said finally. And Bach. Thomas's eyebrows rose in surprise. Good taste. Any particular pieces? The Nocturnes by Chopin. And Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier. Anna immediately regretted being so specific. It revealed more knowledge than most people would expect from a cleaning lady. Thomas was clearly surprised. Those are not casual listening choices. You really do pay attention. Anna shrugged and moved to the next row, hoping he would let the subject drop. She didn't like drawing attention to herself. You know, Thomas said, following her at a respectful distance. Sometimes I forget that the music we play reaches beyond the audience who buys tickets, that people like you hear it too. Anna wasn't sure how to respond to that. Was it a compliment, or did he find it strange that someone like her would appreciate classical music? Music is for everyone, she said simply. Thomas smiled. You're right. Sometimes we musicians get caught up in our little world of technique and forget the actual point, that music is meant to be heard and felt. He glanced at his watch and looked surprised at the time. I should go. Early rehearsal tomorrow. He walked back to the stage to gather his sheet music. As he organized his papers, Thomas looked over at Anna again. Do you ever want to try? He asked, gesturing toward the piano with a small smile, after hearing so much music over the years. Anna felt a strange flutter in her chest at his question. No, she said quickly. I just clean here. Thomas nodded, not pressing further. Well, good night, Anna. Thanks for the conversation. It actually helped clear my head. After he left, Anna stood alone in the concert hall looking at the grand piano on stage. The spotlight still shone on it, making the black surface gleam like water under moonlight. She pushed her cart to the edge of the stage and began wiping down the first row of seats. But her eyes kept returning to the piano. It had been so many years since she'd touched one. Another lifetime ago in another country, before war and hardship had forced her to leave everything behind. Before cleaning other people's spaces became her livelihood. Anna finished cleaning the seating area and moved to the stage. She carefully dusted around the piano, making sure not to touch the keys. This was her favorite part of the night, having the stage to herself, standing where the musicians stood, seeing the hall from their perspective. For just a moment, she let herself remember what it had felt like to sit before a piano with music in front of her, her fingers ready to bring those black marks on the page to life. She remembered her teacher's voice, the smell of the old practice rooms, the satisfaction of mastering a difficult passage after days of work. But that was long ago. Now her hands were meant for scrubbing and dusting, not for coaxing music from ivory keys. Anna sighed and returned to her cart, moving on to clean the backstage area as she did every night, leaving the grand piano behind her, silent and waiting. The next evening, Anna arrived at the concert hall at her usual time, her mind still lingering on the brief conversation with Thomas from the night before. As she pushed her cart through the staff entrance, the security guard handed her an envelope. "Someone left this for you," he said, hardly looking up from his crossword puzzle. Anna frowned slightly as she took the envelope. In 8 years, no one had ever left anything for her. Her name was written on the front in hurried handwriting. She tucked it into her pocket, deciding to look at it later when she took her break. The hall was busier than usual tonight. A special performance was scheduled for the weekend, and musicians were staying late to rehearse. Anna adjusted her routine, starting with the upper balcony instead of the lobby to avoid getting in anyone's way. As she worked, the sound of the orchestra floated up to her. They were practicing something lively and complex, with the strings and wind instruments chasing each other through the melody. Despite her concentration on cleaning, Anna's foot tapped along with the rhythm as she emptied trash bins and dusted the railings. During her break, Anna sat on a folding chair in the small staff room and finally opened the envelope. Inside was a note written on concert program paper. "Anna, I left some sheet music on top of the piano. Nocturnes by Chopin, since you mentioned liking them. Feel free to look through them if you want." "The piano won't bite." Anna read the note twice, unsure how to feel about it. Was he making fun of her? Or was this a genuine friendly gesture? She carefully folded the note and put it back in the envelope, tucking it into her pocket again. When she finally made her way to the main hall, it was nearly midnight. The orchestra had finished rehearsing, and the space was empty except for scattered sheet music and empty water bottles left behind on chairs. Anna moved efficiently through the rows, restoring order to the chaos. Eventually, she made her way to the stage. True to his word, Thomas had left a book of sheet music on top of the piano. Anna picked it up carefully, as if it might crumble in her hands. It was an old edition of Chopin's Nocturne, the cover worn soft with age and use. Some pages had pencil markings, circles around certain notes, small arrows, and other symbols she recognized from her past life. Anna glanced around the empty hall. No one was there to see her. She placed the book on the piano's music stand and opened it to Nocturne in E-flat major. Pier 9 No. 2, one of the first pieces she had mastered as a young student, so many years ago. For a long moment, Anna just stood there, looking at the familiar patterns of notes on the page. In her mind, she could hear the piece perfectly, could feel the phantom sensation of keys beneath her fingers. Without thinking, she reached out and pressed one key very softly, just enough to hear a single pure note ring out in the empty hall. The sound hung in the air like a question waiting to be answered. Anna quickly pulled her hand back and closed the book. This was foolish. She was here to clean, not to revisit a past that was long gone. She placed the book back on top of the piano and returned to her cart, forcing herself to focus on her work. But as she cleaned the backstage area, Anna couldn't shake the feeling of that single piano key under her finger. It had awakened something she'd spent years trying to forget. The next evening when Anna arrived, the security guard told her that most of the musicians had the night off. Only a few would be coming in for individual practice. "Thomas asked if you got his note," the guard added, giving her a curious look. "Yes," Anna said simply, offering no further comment as she collected her cart. The hall was eerily quiet as she worked through her routine. No music echoed through the corridors tonight. Anna found herself moving more slowly than usual, her thoughts drifting. When she reached the main hall, she was surprised to see Thomas sitting at the piano, though he wasn't playing. He looked up when she entered and smiled. "There you are. I was hoping you'd be working tonight." Anna nodded politely, keeping her distance. "I work every night except Sundays. Did you see the sheet music I left?" Thomas asked, gesturing to the book that was still sitting on top of the piano. "Yes. Thank you," Anna replied, beginning to clean the back of the hall. Thomas turned on the piano bench to face her. "I wasn't trying to be presumptuous or anything. I just thought, well, the way you talked about Chopin, it seemed like you might enjoy looking at the music." Anna paused her cleaning. "It was kind of you. Did you look through it?" Anna hesitated before answering. "Briefly." Thomas seemed to sense her discomfort and changed the subject. "I finally got through that difficult passage I was struggling with yesterday. Want to hear it?" Without waiting for her answer, he turned back to the piano and began to play. It was the same piece he had been practicing the night before, but now the notes flowed smoothly. the melody singing above the complex harmony in his left hand. Anna stopped cleaning entirely to listen. Thomas played with genuine emotion, his body swaying slightly with the music. When he finished, the final chord seemed to linger in the air. "Much better, right?" Thomas asked, looking over his shoulder at her. "Yes," Anna said, meaning it. "Very beautiful." Thomas beamed at the compliment. "Thanks. I just needed to sleep on it, I guess." He shuffled through his sheet music. "I have to prepare for a small recital next month. Would you mind if I played through the program while you clean? Sometimes having someone else in the room helps me focus better than practicing alone." Anna nodded, returning to her work. "I don't mind." For the next hour, Thomas played while Anna cleaned. She moved through the hall methodically, emptying trash bins, wiping down seats, and sweeping the floor, all while being serenaded by Beethoven, Debussy, and yes, Chopin. It was the most pleasant evening of work she'd had in a long time. When Thomas finally stopped playing, Anna had finished most of her tasks. He stretched his arms above his head and rolled his shoulders. "My teacher used to say that cleaning is a lot like practicing," Thomas said conversationally, as he began gathering his music. "Both require patience, attention to detail, and doing the same motions over and over until everything shines." Anna smiled slightly at the comparison. "Your teacher was wise." Thomas stood up from the piano bench and walked to the edge of the stage. "Can I ask you something, Anna?" She looked up from her cart, a bit wary. "Yes? You know too much about classical music for someone who just happens to clean a concert hall." It wasn't a question, but his tone was gentle, curious rather than accusatory. Anna's hands tightened on her cleaning cloth. "I listen a lot," Thomas shook his head. "It's more than that. The way you named those specific pieces yesterday, the way you listen when I play, really listen, not just hear." He paused, studying her face. "You play, don't you? Or you used to?" Anna looked away. 8 years of careful privacy, of keeping her past separate from her present, and somehow this man had seen through her in just 2 days. "It was a long time ago," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Thomas nodded as if he'd expected this answer. "I thought so." He hesitated before continuing. Would you like to play something?" "Just for a minute?" "No one else is here." Anna felt her heart beat faster at the suggestion. "No, I couldn't. I haven't played in years." "Like riding a bicycle," Thomas said with an encouraging smile. "You never really forget." Anna shook her head firmly. "I have work to finish." Thomas looked disappointed but didn't push further. "Okay, I understand." He gathered the last of his sheet music. "Same time tomorrow?" "I'll be here," Anna replied, returning to her cleaning. After Thomas left, Anna found herself drawn to the piano once again. The book of nocturnes was still there, open to the same page as the night before. She approached slowly as if the instrument might vanish if she moved too quickly. This time, Anna allowed herself to sit on the bench. The leather was still warm from Thomas. She placed her hands on her lap, looking at the keys without touching them. It had been 15 years since she'd last played. 15 years since she'd fled her home country with nothing but a small suitcase, and her daughter's hand clutched tightly in hers. The piano she'd grown up with, the one her father had saved for years to buy, had been left behind like everything else. Anna looked down at her hands. They were different now, rougher with calluses in new places from years of scrubbing and cleaning. Would they even remember what to do? Before she could talk herself out of it, Anna placed her fingers on the keys. She took a deep breath and began to play the first few measures of the nocturne. The initial notes were hesitant, her fingers stiff and unsure. But as she continued, something awakened inside her. Her hands remembered what her mind had tried to forget. The music began to flow, softly at first, then with growing confidence. Anna closed her eyes, letting her fingers find their way across the familiar path of the melody. The piece had always reminded her of moonlight on water, gentle, beautiful, with depths hidden beneath the surface. She was so lost in the music that she didn't hear the door at the back of the hall open. She didn't notice the security guard step inside, stop in his tracks, and listen with his mouth slightly open in surprise. Only when she finished the piece, the final notes fading into silence, did Anna become aware that she was no longer alone. She turned quickly to see the guard standing there, an expression of wonder on his face. "I didn't know you could play like that," he said. Anna stood up quickly, embarrassed at being caught. "I was just..." The piano was... She couldn't find the right words to explain. The guard shook his head. No need to explain. That was beautiful. He smiled kindly. Your secret's safe with me. As Anna finished her shift that night, her fingers still tingled with the memory of the keys. Something had changed. A door she'd kept firmly shut for years had been cracked open, and she wasn't sure if she could close it again, or if she even wanted to. Over the next few days, a new routine began to form. Anna would arrive for her shift, and Thomas would already be at the piano, practicing for his upcoming recital. He would play while she cleaned, occasionally stopping to ask her opinion on a particular passage or interpretation. At first, Anna gave only brief responses, still cautious about revealing too much of her knowledge. But gradually, she began to offer more detailed thoughts, and Thomas listened to her suggestions with genuine interest. You have a good ear, he told her one evening after she had pointed out that he was rushing through a delicate section of a Debussy piece. Anna shrugged, focusing on wiping down a handrail. I just hear what I hear. On Friday night, Thomas was not alone when Anna arrived. A woman with curly red hair sat next to him on the piano bench, laughing at something he had said. Anna quietly began her work at the back of the hall, trying not to draw attention to herself, but Thomas spotted her and waved her over. Anna, come meet Lisa, our new cellist. Anna hesitated, then walked down the aisle toward the stage, conscious of her cleaning uniform and the cart she'd left behind. Lisa, this is Anna. She's been giving me some excellent feedback on my playing this week. Lisa smiled warmly. Any friend of Thomas is a friend of mine. Nice to meet you. You too, Anna replied softly, uncomfortable with the introduction. She wasn't Thomas's friend. She was just the cleaning lady who happened to know something about music. Anna knows more about Chopin than anyone I've met, Thomas continued, seemingly oblivious to her discomfort. She's been helping me with the nocturne for my recital. Lisa raised her eyebrows. Really? Are you a pianist too? Before Anna could answer, Thomas jumped in. She won't tell me, but I'm pretty sure she was a serious player at some point. You should hear the suggestions she makes. Only someone who really understands piano would notice those details. Anna felt her cheeks grow warm. I should get back to work, she said, turning away. Wait, Lisa called. We're having a little get-together next week after the Thursday rehearsal. Just some of the orchestra members, very casual. You should come. Anna shook her head. Thank you, but I can't. Why not? Thomas asked. It's just a small gathering at Lisa's apartment. Good food, some wine, music talk. I have my grandson that night, Anna said, which wasn't true. She simply couldn't imagine herself socializing with the musicians, crossing that invisible line between her world and theirs. Bring him along, Lisa suggested. My son will be there too. They can play together while the adults chat. Anna made a non-committal noise and retreated to her cart. As she continued cleaning, she could hear Thomas and Lisa playing together, his piano weaving around her cello in a beautiful duet. Their music filled the hall, rich and expressive, making Anna's heart ache with a strange mixture of pleasure and loss. Later that night, after everyone had gone, Anna found herself once again drawn to the piano. This time she didn't hesitate to sit down. The book of nocturnes was still there, but she didn't open it. Instead, she began to play from memory, not Chopin this time, but Bach. The Prelude in C major from the Well-Tempered Clavier, a piece she had once known as well as her own name. Her fingers moved more confidently now, finding the keys with increasing precision. The simple, flowing pattern of notes was like a meditation, calming her mind after the uncomfortable interaction earlier. As she played, Anna felt something inside her beginning to awaken, something she had deliberately put to sleep many years ago. When she finished the Bach, she moved seamlessly into a Mozart sonata, then back to Chopin. It was as if a dam had broken, releasing a flood of music that had been held back for too long. She played for nearly an hour, lost in the joy of reconnecting with this essential part of herself. The security guard passed by the open door of the hall, but didn't interrupt her this time. He simply stood listening for a few minutes, then continued on his rounds with a smile on his face. When Anna finally stopped playing, her fingers were sore and her back ached from sitting without proper posture for so long, but her spirit felt lighter than it had in years. The weekend passed, and on Monday, Anna found a small box waiting for her at the security desk. From Thomas, the guard said with a knowing look. Inside the box was a small tube of hand cream with a note. For a pianist's hands. This stuff works miracles on mine after long practice sessions. Anna stared at the gift, torn between gratitude and the urge to return it. She couldn't afford to buy expensive hand cream, but accepting it felt like acknowledging something she wasn't ready to face. In the end, she tucked the cream into her pocket and went about her work. When she reached the main hall, Thomas was already there practicing a difficult section of a Rachmaninoff piece. He looked up when she entered and smiled. "Did you get my gift?" Anna nodded. "Yes, thank you." "I hope it wasn't too forward," Thomas said. "I just noticed your hands the other day when you were pointing something out in the music. They looked dry and cracked from all the cleaning supplies." "It was kind of you," Anna replied, touched by his thoughtfulness. Thomas returned to his playing while Anna began her cleaning routine. The music was demanding tonight, full of huge chords and rapid passages that filled the hall with sound. Thomas struggled with one particular section, repeating it several times with increasing frustration. "It's not right," he muttered, more to himself than to Anna. "Something's missing." Anna paused her work, listening carefully. She could hear what was wrong. He was playing all the notes correctly, but the phrase lacked the right emotional weight. "Maybe," she began hesitantly, then stopped. Thomas looked up eagerly. "What? Tell me what you're thinking." Anna set down her cleaning cloth and walked closer to the stage. "Maybe you're thinking too much about the technical challenge and not enough about what the music is saying." "And what is it saying?" Thomas asked, genuinely curious. Anna thought for a moment. "It's like someone remembering something beautiful that they've lost. There should be both sweetness and pain in how you play it." Thomas considered her words, then tried the passage again, this time with a slightly slower tempo and more expressive phrasing. The difference was subtle but profound. "Better?" he asked when he finished. "Much better," Anna confirmed. Thomas looked at her with new respect. "You really understand this stuff, don't you? Not just technically, but what's beneath the notes." Anna didn't respond, but something in her expression must have encouraged Thomas because he suddenly stood up from the piano bench. "Play something for me," he said. "Please, I've been dying to hear you play properly." Anna shook her head. "No, I can't. Why not?" "There's no one else here. I'm working," Anna said firmly, returning to her cart. Thomas sighed, but didn't push further. He sat back down at the piano and resumed his practice, though Anna could tell his heart wasn't fully in it anymore. The next day, Anna arrived to find not just Thomas but several other musicians gathered around the piano. They were laughing and talking animatedly, passing around sheet music and making notes with pencils. Anna tried to slip in unnoticed, but Thomas spotted her immediately. "Anna, perfect timing. We're having a debate about the tempo of this Schubert piece. Come give us your opinion." All heads turned to look at her and Anna froze. She recognized most of them as regular orchestra members. The concertmaster with his silver-streaked beard, the young flutist who always practiced during lunch breaks, the elderly violist who had been with the orchestra for decades. "I'm sure you all know better than I would," Anna said, backing away slightly. The concertmaster squinted at her. "You're the cleaning lady, right? Thomas says you have quite an ear for music." Anna shot Thomas a look that was half panic, half betrayal. He had been talking about her to the other musicians? "Don't look so worried," the flutist said with a kind smile. "We just want another opinion. Here, listen to these two versions." Before Anna could protest further, the violist began to play a sweet, gentle melody. When he finished, the concertmaster played the same tune but at a brisker pace. "Well," Thomas prompted, "which tempo feels more authentic to Schubert's intention?" Anna found herself cornered. 5 pairs of eyes looked at her expectantly. She swallowed hard. "The first one," she said quietly. "Schubert wrote this when he was already ill." "It's contemplative, not hurried." The violist grinned triumphantly. "See? I told you all." The concertmaster raised an eyebrow. "And how do you know when Schubert wrote this piece?" Anna's mind raced. She had revealed too much. I read it somewhere." "Excuse me, I need to get to work." She hurried away, heart pounding. Behind her, she could hear the musicians discussing her answer, their voices a mix of surprise and curiosity. Later, when the others had gone, Thomas approached her as she mopped the backstage area. "I'm sorry if I put you on the spot earlier," he said. "I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable." Anna continued mopping without looking up. "You shouldn't have told them about me." "I just mentioned that you had good musical insights," Thomas said defensively. Is that so terrible? They were impressed, not judgmental. Anna stopped mopping and faced him. You don't understand. I'm not one of you. I clean this hall. That's who I am now, who you are now, Thomas repeated, catching the slip. So you were someone else before? Anna resumed her mopping, moving away from him. We all were. Thomas followed her. Why are you so afraid to admit that you understand music? That you can play? What happened to make you hide this part of yourself? Anna's hands tightened on the mop handle. Not everyone gets to keep the life they were meant to have, she said quietly. Sometimes you have to leave everything behind and start over. Thomas was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was gentle. Would it really be so bad to let music back into your life even a little bit? Anna didn't answer. She couldn't explain to this privileged young man what it had cost her to rebuild her life in a new country, how precarious her stability still felt, how she had learned to expect nothing and be grateful for the little she had. Just think about the get-together on Thursday, Thomas said before leaving. The invitation still stands. That night, after finishing her shift, Anna found herself once again sitting at the piano. But this time she didn't play. She simply rested her hands on the silent keys, feeling their cool smoothness beneath her fingers, and wondered if Thomas might be right. Thursday arrived, and Anna still hadn't decided about the musicians' get-together. She went through her day distracted, cleaning homes in the morning and afternoon before her evening shift at the concert hall. Her thoughts kept returning to Thomas's invitation, and what it might mean to step into that world even briefly. As she rode the bus to the concert hall, Anna found herself studying her reflection in the window. Her work clothes were clean but plain, her hair pulled back in its usual simple bun. Would she look out of place among the musicians in their casual but fashionable clothes? Would they treat her differently once the novelty of the cleaning lady who knows music wore off? When Anna arrived at the hall, it was unusually quiet. No one was practicing tonight. They were all at the rehearsal, which would end soon. She decided to start in the administrative offices, hoping to finish that area before the musicians returned and the main hall became busy. As she dusted the framed photographs of past orchestra directors that lined the hallway, Anna heard the distant sound of applause. The rehearsal had ended. Soon the musicians would be packing up their instruments, chatting in small groups, and then heading to Lisa's apartment for the gathering. Anna worked more slowly than usual, uncertain whether she wanted to run into Thomas and the others or avoid them entirely. Part of her, a part that had been silent for years, wanted to go to the gathering, to be surrounded by people who spoke the language of music, to feel for a few hours like she belonged to that world again. But a louder, more cautious voice reminded her of reality. These people were not her peers. They were educated professionals with stable careers, while she was a cleaning woman who had once in another life been something else. The gap between them was too wide to cross. Anna was emptying a trash bin in one of the practice rooms when she heard footsteps in the hallway. She straightened up just as Thomas appeared in the doorway. There you are, he said, smiling. I was hoping to catch you before you got too deep into your cleaning routine. Anna nodded in greeting but didn't respond. So, Thomas continued, leaning against the doorframe, have you thought about coming tonight? It's just a few blocks away. Lisa's making her famous lasagna. I don't think I can, Anna said, avoiding his eyes. Can't or won't? Thomas asked gently. Anna sighed. Both, maybe. Thomas entered the room and sat down on the piano bench. You know, when I first started playing with this orchestra, I felt like I didn't belong either. Everyone else seemed so confident, so comfortable with who they were as musicians. I was just a nervous kid who had somehow fooled the audition committee. Anna looked at him in surprise. Thomas always seemed so self-assured. It's true, he continued. I used to hide in the practice rooms during breaks because I was afraid of saying something stupid if I socialized with the others. He smiled ruefully. I still feel that way sometimes. It's not the same, Anna said. No, it's not, Thomas agreed. But the feeling of being an outsider, that's universal. And you know what? Most people at the gathering tonight will be feeling some version of that too. The new violinist who's worried her accent is too strong. The oboist who grew up poor and thinks everyone can tell. The timpanist who's the only one without a fancy music degree. Anna was silent, considering his words. Just come for an hour, Thomas urged. If you hate it, I'll walk you to the bus stop myself. Anna looked around the practice room, at the music stands and chairs arranged in neat rows. At the metronome sitting on a shelf, at the worn piano in the corner. This world had once been hers. Perhaps she could visit it again just for a little while. I would need to go home first, she said finally, to change clothes. Thomas's face lit up. Of course. The gathering doesn't really get going until after 9 anyway. Here, he scribbled an address on a scrap of paper. This is Lisa's place. Come whenever you're ready. Anna took the paper hesitantly. I might not stay long. That's fine, Thomas assured her. Just giving it a try is what matters. After Thomas left, Anna finished her work more quickly than usual. She told the security guard she wasn't feeling well and needed to leave early. The first time she had ever asked to cut her shift short in 8 years. At home, Anna stood in front of her small closet, considering her options. She didn't own many nice clothes, but there was a dark blue dress she had bought for her daughter's college graduation 2 years ago. It was simple but elegant, with long sleeves that would hide the roughness of her hands. As she changed, Anna caught sight of herself in the mirror. With her hair down and wearing the dress instead of her uniform, she looked different, like a shadow of the woman she had been before. For a moment, she almost lost her nerve. But Thomas's words came back to her. Just giving it a try is what matters. The address Thomas had given her led to an apartment building in a pleasant neighborhood not far from the concert hall. Anna hesitated at the entrance, then took a deep breath and pressed the buzzer for Lisa's apartment. Hello? Lisa's voice crackled through the intercom. It's Anna, she said, her voice barely audible. There was a pause, then an excited, Anna! You came. Come on up, 4th floor. The door buzzed open and Anna entered, her heart pounding as she rode the elevator to the 4th floor. She could hear music and laughter even before she reached Lisa's door, which was slightly ajar. She knocked anyway. Lisa opened the door fully, her face breaking into a warm smile. You made it! Come in, come in. Everyone, look who's here. Anna stepped into the apartment, immediately overwhelmed by the number of people crowded into the living room. She recognized most of them from the orchestra, about 15 musicians in total, some sitting on couches and chairs, others standing in small groups with drinks in their hands. Anna. Thomas called from across the room, making his way toward her. You look wonderful. Can I get you something to drink? Wine, beer, water? Just water, please, Anna said quietly. As Thomas disappeared into the kitchen, Lisa led Anna around, introducing her to the musicians. Some she already knew by sight, others only by the sound of their instruments. To her surprise, they all greeted her warmly, with no hint of condescension or awkwardness about her job at the concert hall. Thomas tells us you've been giving him excellent advice on his Chopin, the concertmaster said, raising his glass to her. He needs all the help he can get. There was gentle laughter, and Thomas returned with Anna's water in time to hear the comment. Very funny. Anna has an incredible ear, though. She caught nuances in my playing that even Professor Chen missed at my last lesson. Anna felt her cheeks grow warm at the praise. It's nothing. Just observations. Don't be modest, the elderly violinist said, patting the seat next to him on the couch. Sit, sit. Tell us about your musical background. Thomas has been very mysterious about you. Anna perched on the edge of the couch, cradling her water glass. There's not much to tell. I studied piano when I was younger, that's all. Where did you study? Asked a young woman with a cello case propped against the wall nearby. Anna hesitated. At the National Conservatory in my home country. A murmur of interest went through the group. The National Conservatory was well known for its rigorous program and exceptional faculty. That's impressive, the cellist said. How far did you go with it? Anna took a sip of water, buying time. She hadn't talked about her past musical life in so long that the words felt strange in her mouth. I completed the program. I was teaching and performing before I came here. There was a moment of silence, and Anna could see the questions in their eyes. Why was someone with conservatory training cleaning their concert hall? But to her relief, no one asked directly. Instead, the conversation shifted to a discussion about different teaching methods and the challenges of working with young students. Anna found herself drawn into the talk, offering her own experiences and opinions. For the first time in years, she was speaking as a musician among musicians, not as a cleaning woman trying to hide her knowledge. As the evening progressed, Anna gradually relaxed. The food was delicious, the conversation stimulating, and no one seemed to care that she wasn't currently part of their professional world. They treated her as an equal, someone whose musical insights they respected. At one point, Lisa sat down at a small, upright piano in the corner of the living room and began to play a playful Gershwin piece. Others joined in with their instruments, a violin here, a flute there, creating an impromptu chamber group. "Anna, you should play something," Thomas suggested during a lull. Anna shook her head immediately. "No, I couldn't." "Oh, please do," Lisa said, standing up from the piano bench. "I'd love to hear you play." Anna looked around at the expectant faces and felt panic rising in her chest. It was one thing to play alone in the empty concert hall, but quite another to perform in front of professional musicians. "Maybe another time," she said, rising from her seat. "It's getting late and I should go." Thomas looked disappointed but nodded. "I'll walk you to the bus stop." Anna said her goodbyes, touched by how many people expressed hope that she would come to their next gathering. As she and Thomas walked through the cool night air toward the bus stop, she felt a strange mixture of emotions: happiness at being accepted into their circle, regret at not having the courage to play, and a lingering fear that she was setting herself up for heartbreak by revisiting a world she had forced herself to leave behind. "Thank you for coming," Thomas said as they reached the bus stop. "I hope you enjoyed yourself," Anna nodded. "I did. They're very kind, your friends." "They're your friends too now," Thomas said. "You belong with us, Anna. I hope someday you'll believe that." As her bus approached, Anna turned to Thomas. Maybe at the next gathering I'll play something." Thomas's face lit up. "I'll hold you to that." On the bus ride home, Anna found herself smiling. For the first time in 15 years, she had allowed herself to be seen. Not completely, but enough to feel a connection to the person she used to be. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. When she arrived at the concert hall the next evening, Anna was surprised to find Thomas waiting for her by the security desk, his face serious. "What's wrong?" she asked, immediately concerned. "Nothing's wrong," Thomas said quickly. "But I need to ask you something important." "Do you trust me?" Anna looked at him warily. "What do you mean?" Thomas took a deep breath. "I want you to play at my recital next week. Just one piece, the Chopin Nocturne you were helping me with. I've been thinking about it all day." "It would be perfect," Anna stared at him in disbelief. "Have you lost your mind?" "I can't perform at a recital. I haven't played seriously in 15 years. "But you can," Thomas insisted. "I've heard you practicing when you think no one is listening. You play that nocturne better than I ever could." Anna shook her head firmly. "No, absolutely not." Thomas's expression grew determined. "Just think about it. That's all I'm asking." As he walked away, Anna stood frozen, his request echoing in her mind. Perform in public again? The very thought made her hands shake, yet somewhere deep inside a small voice whispered, "What if?" For the next 3 days, Anna avoided Thomas. She arrived at work later than usual, making sure he had already finished practicing and left the hall before she began her cleaning routine. She needed time to think, away from his enthusiasm and persuasive arguments. The idea of performing in public again terrified her. What if her skills had deteriorated too much? What if she embarrassed herself in front of an audience of music lovers? Worse, what if she played well and then had to return to her cleaning cart the next day? The brief moment of glory making her regular life seem even smaller. On Sunday, her day off, Anna visited her daughter and grandson in their small apartment across town. While her grandson played with his toys on the living room floor, Anna sat at the kitchen table with her daughter nursing a cup of tea. "You seem distracted today, Mom," her daughter said, studying her face. "Is everything okay?" Anna hesitated, then decided to tell her. "Someone at the concert hall has asked me to play the piano at a recital." Her daughter's eyes widened. "To play in public?" When Anna nodded, she broke into a smile. "That's wonderful. When is it?" "Next week," Anna said. But I told him no. Why? Her daughter looked genuinely puzzled. "You used to love performing." Anna sighed, watching her grandson stack blocks that inevitably toppled over, only for him to rebuild them with determined concentration. That was a long time ago. Another life. Her daughter reached across the table and took her hand. "It's still your life, Mom, all of it. The conservatory, the teaching, the concerts, and yes, the hard times too. The war, coming here, starting over. It's all part of who you are." Anna felt tears threatening and blinked them away. "I'm not that person anymore." "Yes, you are," her daughter said firmly. You're still the woman who taught me to hear the stories in music, who showed me that beauty can exist even in difficult times. She squeezed Anna's hand. Do you know what I remember most from when we first came to this country? Not the tiny apartment or the strange food or how hard you worked. I remember you humming to yourself while you made dinner, or tapping out rhythms on the table while you helped me with homework. The music never left you, Mom. Anna was silent, letting her daughter's words sink in. Why did this person ask you to play? Her daughter asked. He says I play the piece better than he does, Anna replied, still unable to believe it. Her daughter smiled. Then you should play it. Not for him, not for the audience, but for yourself. For the part of you that's been silent too long. Later that night, back in her own apartment, Anna found herself sitting on the edge of her bed, looking at an old photograph she kept tucked in her nightstand drawer. It showed a younger version of herself in a black concert dress, bowing on stage after a performance, her face flushed with joy. She hardly recognized that confident woman anymore, but her daughter was right. That person was still inside her somewhere. The music had never truly left. It had just been buried under years of survival and hard work, and the effort of building a new life in a strange country. The next evening, Anna arrived at the concert hall at her usual time. Thomas was waiting for her by the security desk, looking anxious. I thought you might have quit, he said as she approached. I haven't seen you for days. I've been thinking, Anna replied simply. Hope flashed across Thomas's face. About the recital? Anna nodded. If I were to do it, and I'm not saying I will, what exactly would it involve? Thomas's face lit up. Just one piece. The Chopin Nocturne in E-flat major. It's a short program, just 45 minutes total. You would play second to last, right before my closing piece. And who would be in the audience? Anna asked, her stomach tightening at the thought. Mostly friends, family, some other musicians, a few regular patrons of the orchestra. Thomas said, It's a small recital, not a major concert. Maybe 60 people at most. Anna took a deep breath. I would need to practice. On a real piano. Not just in my head or for a few stolen minutes after my shift. You can use the practice rooms here, Thomas said quickly. I'll arrange it with the administration. They're usually empty in the mornings. Anna thought about her cleaning schedule. She could rearrange some of her daytime clients, come to the hall in the late morning to practice, then return for her evening shift. I would need a dress, she said, finding practical objections to focus on rather than her fear. Thomas smiled. Lisa is about your size. She has plenty of performance dresses she'd be happy to lend you. Anna ran out of practical objections and was left with only the emotional one. I'm scared, she admitted quietly. Thomas's expression softened. Of course you are. Everyone is scared before a performance, even people who do it all the time. It's not just stage fright, Anna tried to explain. I've been invisible for so long. I'm not sure I remember how to be seen. Thomas considered this. Do you remember what you told me about that difficult passage in the Rachmaninoff? About thinking less about the technical challenge and more about what the music is saying? Anna nodded. Maybe this is the same, Thomas suggested. Think less about being seen and more about what you want to say through the music. Anna felt something shift inside her at his words. He was right. The music was what mattered, not her fears or self-consciousness. The music had always been her truest voice. I'll do it, she said finally, her voice stronger than she expected. But I need to practice properly, and you need to be honest with me about how I sound. If I'm not good enough by next week, I won't perform. Thomas grinned widely. Deal. We start tomorrow morning at 10. For the next week, Anna lived in two worlds. In the mornings, she was a pianist again, practicing in one of the small rooms at the back of the concert hall, her fingers gradually remembering their old strength and flexibility. In the afternoons and evenings, she returned to her cleaning work. But even this felt different now, as if she were moving through a familiar dream, knowing she would soon wake up. Thomas was a demanding coach, but a supportive one. He listened critically to her playing, offering suggestions about tempo and phrasing, but always with respect for her own interpretation. Sometimes other musicians would stop by during her practice sessions, drawn by the beautiful music coming from the usually empty practice room. They would listen from the doorway, then offer words of encouragement before continuing on their way. 3 days before the recital, Lisa arrived with a selection of dresses for Anna to try on. They turned one of the larger practice rooms into an impromptu dressing room, hanging the garments on a coat rack normally used for performers' suits and gowns. "This one," Lisa said decisively, when Anna tried on a deep burgundy dress with 3/4 sleeves. "It's perfect with your coloring, and it fits you beautifully." Anna hardly recognized herself in the small mirror on the wall. The dress was elegant but not flashy, exactly what a serious pianist would choose for a chamber recital. "You look like you were born to be on stage," Lisa told her, adjusting the drape of the fabric across Anna's shoulders. On the night of the recital, Anna arrived at the concert hall 2 hours early, her stomach in knots. Her daughter and grandson were coming to watch her perform, the first time her daughter would hear her play in public since they had left their home country. The hall looked different tonight. Instead of the full orchestra setup, there was just the grand piano in the center of the stage, a spotlight illuminating its gleaming surface. The chairs had been arranged in an intimate semicircle, closer to the stage than usual. Anna changed into the burgundy dress in one of the backstage rooms, then paced nervously in the hallway while the audience began to arrive. Through a small window in the stage door, she could see people filling the seats, musicians she recognized from the orchestra, regular patrons whose faces were familiar from her years of cleaning the hall, and many strangers who must be friends or family of Thomas. Thomas found her backstage dressed in a formal black suit. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Like I might be sick," Anna admitted. He laughed softly. "That's normal. But once you start playing, it will all fall away. You'll see." The recital began, and Anna listened from backstage as Thomas played his first pieces, a Bach prelude and fugue, followed by a Mozart sonata. His playing was confident and expressive, and the audience responded with enthusiastic applause. Before she knew it, it was time for her piece. Thomas came backstage during the brief intermission, his face flushed with the energy of performance. "Ready?" he asked. Anna took a deep breath and nodded, though she wasn't sure if she was ready at all. Thomas went back on stage and spoke to the audience. "For our next piece, I'm honored to introduce a very special guest performer. Some of you may recognize her, though not from the stage." There was a murmur of curiosity from the audience. "Anna has been the guardian angel of this concert hall for 8 years, keeping it beautiful while we musicians make our noise and mess." A ripple of surprised laughter moved through the crowd. What few people knew until recently is that Anna is also a brilliantly trained concert pianist who studied at the National Conservatory in her home country. Tonight she has graciously agreed to share her gift with us. Please welcome Anna, performing Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, Opera 9, No. 2. Anna walked onto the stage, her heart pounding so hard she was sure the audience could hear it. The spotlight felt hot and alien on her skin as she made her way to the piano. She sat down on the bench, adjusted it slightly, and placed her hands in her lap, taking one more deep breath. Then she looked up and saw her daughter and grandson in the third row, their faces full of pride and excitement. Behind them sat the security guard who had first discovered her playing after hours, and next to him, several of the cleaning staff who had come on their night off to support her. Anna placed her hands on the keys and began to play. The first notes were tentative, but as the familiar melody unfolded beneath her fingers, something remarkable happened. The years fell away, and she was simply a musician again, speaking through the music as she had always done best. The sweet, melancholy notes of the nocturne filled the hall, drawing the audience into the intimate world Chopin had created, a world of moonlight and whispered confidences, of hope mingled with sadness. Anna played not just with technical skill but with deep emotion, every phrase shaped by her own experiences of loss and resilience. When the final notes faded away, there was a moment of complete silence. Anna sat motionless at the piano, hardly daring to breathe. Then the applause began, hesitant at first, then building to a thunderous standing ovation. Through tear-blurred eyes, Anna saw her daughter clapping wildly, her grandson jumping up and down with excitement. Anna stood and bowed, just as she had in the old photograph. But this time, she was not the young woman with dreams ahead of her. She was a woman who had lost everything and rebuilt her life from scratch, who had found her voice again after years of silence. As she left the stage to continued applause, Thomas was waiting in the wings, his face shining with happiness. "I told you," he said, embracing her quickly. "I told you the music was still there. Anna nodded, too emotional to speak. The music had indeed been there all along, waiting patiently for her to be ready to embrace it again. 2 weeks later, the director of the concert hall called Anna into his office. She went nervously, still dressed in her cleaning uniform, unsure what to expect. "Your performance at Thomas's recital was quite remarkable," he said, studying her with new respect. "We've had more requests for you to play. Would you be interested in a regular slot in our lunchtime concert series? It's a paid position, of course." Anna stared at him in disbelief. "You want me to perform? Regularly?" "To start," the director said. "There's also the possibility of some teaching work with our community outreach program. We're always looking for talented instructors." Anna thought about what this would mean. A return to the work she had been trained for, the work she had loved. Not a complete return to her old life, but a bridge between who she had been and who she was now. "I would still keep my cleaning job," she said firmly, "at least for now." After all, that work had sustained her through difficult years and deserved her loyalty. The director nodded. "Of course. Whatever works best for you." That evening, as Anna cleaned the now familiar halls and rooms of the concert building, her movements were accompanied by the music in her head, not just remembered pieces from her past, but new possibilities for her future. The melody was complex, with moments of both struggle and beauty, but underneath it all ran a steady rhythm of hope. She was not just Anna the cleaning lady anymore, nor was she only the concert pianist she had once been. She was both and something more, a woman who had found her way back to her truest self, note by careful note.